I'm Brian Foster, and this is the Grindhouse Institute. On each episode of this podcast, Jeremy Floyd and I program a triple feature movie night. Each of the movies share common themes, and we discuss them here. We're happy you could join us for today's block we call Pre-Halloween John Carpenter. John Carpenter is famous for horror, and he's a household name because of it, and there's no denying it's a title well-deserved. He's made some of the best of the genre, but what else is he interested in as an artist? What other genres and films would he have made if he hadn't become a prisoner to his success and been typecast as the master of horror? Well, the films in today's block are a glimpse into that possibility. And the subjects and genres he explored before he was a brand name are far-reaching and diverse. Ordered to supervise the closing of a decommissioned police precinct, Lieutenant Ethan Bishop comes under siege by a violent group of blood-oathing, child-killing gangbangers. Austin Stoker and Darwin Jostin become an unlikely team in a film that was written, directed, scored, and edited by John Carpenter. Assault on Precinct 13 from 1976. Taking on a new job in a new city is never easy, especially when your boss doesn't properly train you for the job, your male coworkers continually sexually harass you, and your neighbor is a crazed, voyeuristic stalker with a penchant for mailing bogus vacation sweepstakes letters. The incredible Lauren Hutton teams up with Adrienne Barbeau to catch the creep in 1978's made-for-TV film, written and directed by John Carpenter, Someone's Watching Me. The life and rise to fame of the legendary Elvis Presley is chronicled in this epic made-for-TV movie. The King is brought to life by an Emmy-winning performance by Kurt Russell and direction by John Carpenter. This film marks the first time this pair would team up. This is Elvis from 1979. Thank you for listening to the Grindhouse Institute. Please enjoy.
I know who's gonna kill Elvis, and I can intercept him, but it'll cost you $50,000.
Yes, we're willing to pay. Hello? Hello?
I'll call the doctor.
Oh, good luck. I mean, first I got put on hold, then I got cut off, and now I can't even get a dial tone.
They didn't cut you off.
What are you talking
The
about?
phone's dead.
When he calls again, blow a whistle into the phone. Get your number changed. Get an unlisted number.
I've done that.
I can't arrest a man for sending presents in the mail and dialing wrong numbers. I'm sorry.
All right, welcome back to the Grindhouse Institute. I'm Brian Foster, and with me as always is Jeremy Floyd. Hello, and how are you?
1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. God damn it, we're doing it again.
I thought it was either that or you were going to ask me if I had a smoke.
Yeah. Black?
Yeah. For 15 or 45 years or whatever it is. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to be continuing our deep dive into very early John Carpenter. This is pre-Halloween John Carpenter. I think that's how we dubbed this one a little bit. We've got three, surprisingly, all very good films, in my opinion. Of course, this one that we start with here, Assault on Precinct 13 from 1976, which is one of my favorites from Carpenter. Someone's Watching Me from 1978. That's a television movie. And Elvis, the 1979 film that I was pleasantly surprised by, with Kurt Russell playing Elvis, and pretty excellent. Let's get started here. It was great to see the master at work yet again.
Indeed.
Working on full, theatrical length in some instances, like the TV movie, even longer than that, I'd say.
Well, it's a theatrical, like, nowadays, maybe. Cause
two,
like,
2.5, 2:40.
Yeah, 2:45.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, this was another great lesson in how one of the greatest directors of all time directed some other types of genres, some other types of films, and then also has one of his own in there that's definitely a Carpenter-esque with Assault.
I guess just in terms of, like, going through the block itself, it's interesting because, okay, all these movies, I think as we set this show up last episode, all these movies were sort of made before he became known for making Halloween, and became sort of typecast or whatever as the horror guy, right?
Right.
And you can only do horror, and you can do no other genre, and get out of my face with that. We only want to see horror. Give us more horror. Shut up and play the hits, right?
Yeah.
But because 2 out of the 3 of these movies were shot before Halloween, and then the other movie they started shooting before Halloween came out. They are a good look at how Carpenter's, use of genre is a little different than what we would kind of expect from him, because we've grown up in a world
Right.
In the sort of post-Halloween Carpenter world.
Right. Elvis never becomes the thing in this movie. Like, that's what you're not waiting for that at all times. This is a straight up Elvis biopic.
Yeah, you weren't waiting for to do the Elvis blood test or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because we've got a modernized Western, and we've got a thriller, and then we've got more of a bread and butter biopic,
right?
And the Western thing, because Assault has become so sort of associated with Carpenter, we're kind of used to that maybe a little bit, but the sort of straight thriller with nothing supernatural or no like horror necessarily, and the biopic, seem kind of in a different lane for him.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because obviously those are all things that he's interested in.
Right. Big Elvis man. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it wasn't just dependent on how he would get financing, maybe he would have done more of that in his career.
Right. I mean, someone's throwing money at you to do the next horror movie. You're going to choose to do the next horror movie, right?
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, would you like to do this movie? Yes. Okay. Well, then it's a horror movie. Oh, okay.
I know we usually go chronological on these, but I would like to start with Somebody's Watching Me, with the ever beautiful Lauren Hutton, who was the star of Once Bitten, another horror comedy type movie. But this was fantastic. It seemed like a really great, moody, made-for-TV movie that my mom especially would have loved back in the day, and we would have watched that one together. But this one was it seemed like the introduction of the stock players, if you will, with Adrienne Barbeau and Charles Cypher made his appearance, as he does.
He was in Assault as well.
Yeah, so. As he does in most of these movies, yeah. But he goes out a lot better in Assault than he does in this one. But overall, I mean, he really nailed the look and the mood in this movie, and it did kind of feel a little bit Halloween-esque in certain parts, especially with the killer, the unseen killer. That no twists in this one. It's just someone you never meet throughout the entire thing, and it's just some random fella that lives across the way.
And the red herring was our good friend Uncle Leo.
Poor Uncle Leo lost his pension from all this stuff, man. I hope he got it back at the end. Maybe in the sequel.
They railroaded him.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because this one I wasn't expecting in a lot of ways, and one of them is that we see Carpenter doing a lot of his best Hitchcock impressions.
Yeah.
I mean, with Halloween, of course, there's a lot of nods to Psycho in that, which is also Hitchcock. But in this one, it was all over the place. Rear Window, North by Northwest with that opening title sequence, right? The sort of Saul Bass title sequence. Vertigo, that they did the reverse zoom.
Yes.
And then when she's kind of hanging off the balcony at the end, that's sort
scary.
Of like that long drop. That perspective shot is also very Vertigo. They even did Strangers on a Train when she's reaching down in the grate trying to grab that knife, and it was the exact same shot. It was the exact same shot when the fingertips couldn't quite get it.
Good call.
Before she sort of crawled in there.
Before she got all the way in that.
Yeah. That was wild to see, and I was really not expecting that. I was very familiar with Assault. And I knew that one was pre-Halloween. I was familiar with Dark Star. And I guess sort of continuing the idea of like how Dark Star doesn't quite have the same John Carpenter feel. A lot of the movies in this block are in that same boat. But with Assault, for instance, you're used to his sort of like action and violence, and the way that his leads tend to act and tend to be cool under pressure and all these other things. And this one was similar in that sense. I mean, but we have this sort of strong female character, the Lauren Hutton character. Lee is her name in the show. And all these great moments, like her picking up that guy in the bar.
Yeah.
And like, after, having to ward off people, hitting on her, all these creeps hitting on her, not only at the bar, but at her office. And
Awful office etiquette by that guy. Jesus.
Yeah. and of course her like rear window stalker.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But, it's interesting, kind of seeing her pursue Paul, that character Paul, and she just kind of walks up to him and introduces herself and then walks away. And he's like, well, okay, never mind. What the hell was that? And then she comes back like, hey, good to see you again or whatever. And it was like, just her way.
They've already met.
Yeah.
Break that ice.
Haven't we met before?
Can I buy you a drink?
We'll flip for it.
What's great is they Shout Factory came out with a Blu-ray of this one.
Oh, cool.
Kind of recently, in the last couple of years at least. And they have some interesting, behind-the-scenes stuff on it. And one of them was this guy going around, checking out all the locations that they filmed at. All the sort of like practical locations, and obviously not the set, which I'm sure had been destroyed years ago. But the bar where this is supposedly taking place, and she was hitting on Paul, the exterior shot for that bar, if the camera were just to sort of tilt up like 20 degrees, we'd be seeing the wall where Nada first puts on his sunglasses and they live and sees like the Obey or whatever.
All right.
on the billboard.
That's amazing.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
The show, I had low expectations for it. Let me put it that way.
I also went in with low expectations.
Yeah. And, perhaps that's a good place to start.
Sure.
But, it was actually really engaging. I was really, surprised how much I was into it.
Absolutely.
And how well this thing translated to what was a low-budget show. I mean, even if, it was backed by a network and all these other things, and it was a union show and that was his first, union experience and, a higher budget world. But he had something like 8 days to shoot it, 10 days, something like that. And it was like...
It's a lot to pack in 8 days.
Yeah, and it's, an hour and a half, 2 hour show.
It's a full movie, yeah.
Full movie. And, so for that lower budget world, he managed to have, sort of very few locations and, a lot of tension and, a lot of things that I think, as he put it, he was trying out that he would use... like a week later when he started shooting Halloween.
A week later, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it was like, it was like he had 2 days off or whatever, and then Halloween started. It was...
And so did his career.
Yeah, so, like, Assault, that's 1976.
Mm-hmm.
1977, apparently, he was writing, 500 screenplays. At some point, he wrote Lower Mars in there. This movie, Someone's Watching Me, wrote Halloween, wrote 2 westerns, and it was like he's a writing fool. And then gets this TV movie greenlit, went and did that, got Halloween ready to go, did that, then immediately starts working on Elvis, and is sort of 4 months into the Elvis production by the time Halloween comes out. And then, Someone's Watching Me comes out after Halloween. Elvis comes out after Halloween, in 79. But it was just this crazy, crazy time.
Yeah, I'd love to go back and see if there were some advertisements for these TV movies that, from the director of Halloween comes, Someone is Watching Me,
But that's the thing, though. It's like, this is all... Even after Halloween came out, it was kind of received poorly by critics. And what happened was it just got word of mouth, and people had to start, the critics and whatever, had to start reevaluating it.
Same with
almost
Assault,
immediately,
right? Yeah.
like a couple weeks later, and they were like, "Oh, maybe it is pretty good."
From the first time I saw that movie, I knew that movie was good.
I knew. Yeah.
I really like what he's set up here in Someone's Watching Me. Like you were talking about the tension and those things that he's really good at. A killer that is across the way, that wants to be seen. That gets so close to his victim that he almost wants them to know who he is. But at the same
looking
time,
through those bushes.
That, and like he gave her a telescope.
Yeah. What was it called? Excursions Unlimited.
Excursions Unlimited. Yeah.
That bush shot reminded me. Okay, so
yeah,
when I was pointing out all the Hitchcock stuff, I forgot to mention that shot, which is like, we see the stalker's point of view, looking through the bushes at Lee and Paul as they're coming out from their first date. Then we cut to the sort of profile shot of the stalker's eyeball, and it was the exact same, peeping shot from Psycho, right? When Norman
Into
takes
the
off the
bathroom.
painting and looks into the bathroom, looks into the right over there.
That room.
The bathroom. Yeah.
Can't say it.
Yeah, but anyway, so sorry to derail you there, but
yeah.
that was another like Hitchcock, nod of the cap or whatever, that I forgot to mention earlier.
I mean, I felt a lot of Hitchcock, and I know that a lot of Giallo films in Italy, Dario Argento films, folks like that, they took a lot from Hitchcock as well. And you could tell that a lot of that same mentality was going into the shots, especially that opener when we meet the killer, but he's in that strange his room, which we find out it's his apartment.
It's not his apartment, right? Because it was like he was just house sitting for some guy, or it was like he was in
the apartment where he was acting acting a fool.
His home base.
Yeah, his home base. But all you saw was the phone, with that the recorder behind him, that big tape recorder that they had going.
Yeah.
And you just see the hand. You just see these really nice close-ups, well lit stuff. Almost tabletop. That you see a lot of that in like Hitchcock, like you were saying, but also it just felt Italian to me. It felt like those Argento movies when all you see is the hand of the killer or the POV of the killer.
Yeah, because it was almost like in that sort of dark, like a black box zero space or whatever.
Exactly.
Where it's just a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the hand sort of exists in nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah.
Hello. Is this Lee Michaels?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I thought so.
This kind of movie makes me very wary of when I start getting like free vacation things in the mail. Because it's something that
you
I
should always be wary of that. Yeah, exactly.
I know, and it was like you could tell this movie being made so long ago that they're still sending out these mailers, and I'm not sure anyone that had seen this movie is even going to take the time to read it. Just throw that shit out.
Listen, the guy is just a really aggressive timeshare salesman. Okay?
That's exactly what I thought it was going to end up being. Hey man, you actually did win.
Yeah. All you have to do is sit through this presentation, and you have vacation for free.
Oh, good. Another timeshare in fucking Las Vegas. Fantastic.
No, not just Las Vegas. There's also Los Cabos, and we have a dozen locations.
All the Loses. Los
Loses.
All the Loses.
The Loses and the Losses.
Oh, what a loss. All right. Hey.
No.
I did want to talk about Adrienne Barbeau. This is she is one of my favorites. And she was playing a very progressive type character here, a lesbian co-director that worked with Lee. Well, she was working there already, and she was taking on a new job potentially, but unfortunately, she didn't make it through this one. I guess they needed someone to get killed on screen, and unfortunately, it was Adrienne.
Yeah, but what a harrowing scene. And, what a great way to go out for the actor anyway.
Absolutely.
It was a fun death scene.
That was cool.
But yeah, her character was great. I mean, that's sort of like the one thing I like, the movie, obviously, it's built as a thriller, and it's there for a, being a good sort of tense, keep them guessing thrill ride type of thing. But man, like, because Lee and Paul and I can't remember Adrienne Barbeau's character's name, because all three of them were such interesting characters, you kind of wanted more out of that relationship or whatever, and those characters, and like than what you got. I mean, I get it. I know what this movie was supposed to be, and it's supposed to be a thriller and everything, but he almost did too good of a job setting them up. Okay, the audience cares about him. Now they want to know a little more about him. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. Stop being so good, John.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I wanted more of her. I thought she was great, and that really did hit me or struck a chord with me when she was killed. Even though these kinds of movies, there's always fodder for the killer to kind of go out on screen, right? It's not one of those thrillers if you don't have a few victims. But she was one of them. I didn't want her to die. And when they switched apartments, and I was like, oh shit, she's gonna go, and I was like very intensely watching this one. But well done,
Sophie!
But I thought Paul was a really interesting character as well, being a teacher, I believe, or at least a professor of philosophy.
Right.
He was a philosopher.
So he must have been on the Prince of Darkness crew.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It was like they brought over the USC people.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that was exactly. I'm glad you picked that up too, because I was like, whoa, did he not like get picked to go to the house which was probably the best thing ever not have to go to the church. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Susan from Radiology?
Who? I want to bring that up too. Carpenter is so good at injecting small bits of humor into these movies. While Elvis is a little bit more lighthearted, Assault is a pretty intense movie. Someone's Watching Me is a pretty intense movie, but there are moments in there that are hilarious. Assault's got more of them probably than others, like you did at the beginning, the one potato, two potato thing. And it's just like, what the hell? But I mean, it's just a nice little reprieve from all of that intensity and bloodshed and violence that you see. And he's just great at just punching those little moments up. And I thought Lauren Hutton was hilarious in this when she wouldn't put up with any of the guys that were coming on to her. And she's like, get the fuck away from me. She handled it really well.
Well, hi, pretty lady. Buy a drink?
No, thank you.
Okay. Later.
That type of thing, like, is almost a Howard Hawksian, female lead type of character.
Yeah.
But it also had to be kind of rare for film and TV at the time, especially when she stayed that way the whole time. She didn't, have to wait for Paul to save her or something.
No. Yeah.
And
she saved herself. She was in the climactic battle. She fought the enemy. Like, it was great.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as if he kind of sets up the final girl, but also subverts it in his first outing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of those, again, were used again in Halloween. Those struggle scenes when all you see is there's, a weapon that's kind of close by. In this movie, it was the glass that was broken in the window, and she was trying to grab for the glass. But you know how
that felt Hitchcock.
Laurie is grabbing for stuff. Hitchcock, the characters are grabbing for something that's, and then they always have that insert shot of like the hand trying to find that and getting so close to that weapon. I think it's great. I think it really ratchets it up quite a bit.
Yeah, I love that shot. It was kind of like a handheld oneer. When she's like, okay, fuck this, and she like runs back into her apartment. We see her come into the door. She goes back to her sort of bedroom and her little office set up with her desk there, and snatches that letter opener, or I don't know what it looked like a chef's knife, but it was apparently a letter opener. it was just huge.
You could definitely make dinner with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think she was gonna go, then go meet the guy down in the parking structure or whatever.
The laundry room area. Yeah.
But instead finds Uncle Leo and finds the perfect sap to pin it on.
Hello,
Jerry.
Hi, Leo.
Remember Jerry like builds Leo up to think he's a 10 or something like that.
Jerry, hello.
Not only was it good as a sort of red herring and sort of thriller film noir device of like having it seem as if Leo was her stalker, but it also makes this interesting thing where it's like the Charles Cyphers characters tells her like, what do you want? We got a guy. And it's like,
case closed.
She's like, well, wait a second, did you get the guy? Like,
you got a guy.
That's the important part. Yeah,
a little bit of a commentary there, I'd say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, case closed. We got this poor fool that was running on his pension for the rest of his life. He's just gonna lose all that shit. Lose his entire life and has to move back to Cleveland, Ohio, or whatever the hell he was from.
Right.
Hey, don't worry. We pushed that guy hard enough. He's out of here. It's like,
Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, that's.
What I want you to understand is we pressured this guy out of town. He lost his job, he lost his pension, and I personally put him on the plane to Des Moines. Now, come on, Lee. You just got to let this thing go.
Yeah, I mean, I do love that they didn't use that type of thing as sort of like, oh, we got justice through these normal routes as sort of a crutch, and then the story was able to sort of push that a little further, and not have it be something where it breaks all the rules that's set up throughout the rest of the movie. And then, like you said, it was interesting how we get to the end and we get the big reveal of who the guy is the whole time, and it was no one who's ever seen.
Just some dude. Yeah.
Which is kind of what it would be. It's just like all the suspects. Well, how could you suspect the person that you've never met?
Right. I thought a really good twist there would have been Sophie as the killer, Adrienne Barbeau. I thought that would be interesting. But I think that there were way too many phone calls that happened with her also in the room. But I think you could kind of chalk that up to the cool technical gear that he had in there with his the tape recorder and all that. I think they could have set something up. Oh, he made the phone call without him even being there, But yeah, I think, or obviously Paul was definitely one of those folks that I thought was going to be the killer. Some random fella that she meets just moving to LA, and he just happens to be there.
Because the movie did such a good job of keeping you in the dark as to who the stalker was. Yeah, every single time you saw somebody, like, oh, that's him. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
It's Charles Cyphers.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's the cab driver. Oh, no, it's this guy. It's this person, that person. And I was kind of convinced it was it was supposed to be Uncle Leo. Although I didn't realize how much time we had left, so maybe that would have changed my mind. But
speaking of that cab driver, man, that guy had a scary ass moment when he kind of pops in through the window.
Right.
Are you ready to go yet?
Yeah.
Yep. Let's go. Off to my apartment building. The Arkham. It was what it was. The Arkham Towers.
Right. Yeah, there were a handful apparently of Lovecraft nods in this one. Like apparently the name of the bar was some oblique reference to
Bar
Lovecraft.
Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Necronomicon.
Yeah, exactly. No, it wasn't that on the nose, but the names of the two buildings or something were similar. They had those references built in, which of course I don't know those references, but I just kind of like was reading something real quick about that. But apparently there's a lot of H.P. Lovecraft Easter eggs if you want to go on a hunt.
In this movie, really?
In this movie, yeah.
How did I miss any of these? Because all I got was Arkham out of that one.
Well, because that was the most obvious one. All the rest of them were super obscure.
See, that's my problem. All I find is the most obvious ones. Yeah. Everything else has just disappeared in obscurity, and I can't find any of them.
Yeah. I have to say, it was a lot of fun looking at this movie and I've seen the 1978 Los Angeles.
Yes, where it still rains.
Yeah, it was raining. Where you don't have the scene where Lee's driving around the Mirthmobile from Wayne's World
with the red rope licorice.
Hey, where'd you get the CD player?
When we got the money.
Kind of just seeing how green and undeveloped downtown LA was at that time.
Yeah,
which was fascinating. But also, what was interesting about that little behind the scenes or the locations special feature on the Blu-ray was that they're talking about those two apartment buildings, and apparently they are like that. They do face one another, just like that.
Really?
But it's in Santa Monica, not downtown.
Rear window-esque.
Yeah, it very odd.
There's no comparable building anywhere.
How about that one?
I love that her boss, who didn't have time to give her a job interview, he was like, nope, get to work. That.
Want to show me around? You're on in 5 seconds. She sat down at her desk, and all of a sudden, she had a microphone in her face, and she was going on the air. It was like, what?
And she was going on the Bernie Sanders cooking show. It was like, it looked like it looked like the. It kind of looked like the microwave cooking show from Gremlins.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the show must go on.
No, but the guy who didn't have time to interview her and just shoved her right into that position, it was killing me. I was like, God, who is that guy? But he was the commissioner or chief of police or whatever in L.A. Confidential.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, so...
okay.
But...
For everyone who's seen it...
But I do want to say to everyone that's listening, I do have next to my bed the quartet, the LA Quartet, including LA Confidential, that I have officially started. Should I start with LA Confidential, though?
No. Start with Black Dahlia.
Black Dahlia? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Then Big Nowhere, then LA Confidential, then White Jazz. And it actually is kind of chronological. You actually wouldn't want to start with LA Confidential. There's a big spoiler.
Okay.
The opening scene of that one.
All right, excellent.
And this surprising decision to do a comeback show at the International seems to be do or die for Elvis. It just could be the beginning or the end for a brilliant career. He revolutionized the entire music.
Let's talk Elvis.
Wait, this isn't just the the single made-for-TV movie Someone's Watching Me podcast hour?
We could do that.
Yes.
That would definitely make our lives a lot easier for this podcast. No, this is the 1979 American made-for-television biographical film directed by John Carpenter, starring one of the muses, if you will, of John Carpenter, I believe. One that he put in a lot of movies, but this is Kurt Russell. This is his first John Carpenter movie, I believe, which obviously he's done a ton after that. The Thing, Escape from New York, Escape from L.A., Big Trouble, all of those excellent movies. And again, this one, I did not go in with any expectations. Just very neutral thoughts on this one, and I was pleasantly surprised. Although we didn't get the fat, bloated, sequin Elvis Presley that I wanted.
Yeah, he was still pretty thin when he was
drunk and stoned on a toilet seat, dead or whatever, bloated,
eating the bacon and banana sandwiches or whatever.
Although wasn't that part of this though?
Yeah. Okay.
They did do that, right?
Toward the end of the movie, he was snacking on one of those things, and he was looking at the car from Christine or whatever.
Yes.
And he was all sad about his mom or maybe his wife. I'm not sure what's going on there, but he was really depressed, and he was sneaking on.
That was when he fired his crew.
Right after that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but he was snacking on. It was clearly a peanut butter and banana sandwich or bacon, whatever the hell else Elvis had. The Elvis sandwich. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
This one won 3 Emmy Awards, which is very topical considering the Emmys were last night. Including Outstanding Lead Actor for Kurt Russell. So this must have been really a career starter for him as well.
Nothing for Bing Russell? What the hell?
Oh, that's right. Bing Russell was in this as well.
Yeah.
Great performances all around in this one, I'd say. It was a fun one to watch. Again, though, it didn't really get into the nitty-gritty of Elvis that I'd like to have seen. It also didn't touch on any of those tour dates and things like that they did with Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis and all that. It was just a lot of it was very Elvis, which I guess that's the name of the movie, so that makes sense. But there is so much of his life that I would have loved to have seen in this, but you can't fit that into just 2 hours and 45 minutes, I guess.
Well, what was interesting about the structure of this? So it starts off
firing guns at TVs.
We're in the 70s, and he's about to launch his comeback tour.
Right.
And someone gives him a bad review on the TV, so he blows it away like the Joker or whatever
exactly.
in Batman.
That's exactly.
This town needs an enema.
Yeah, so structurally, it's interesting because it starts off with in this sort of flash forward of Elvis about to make his comeback or whatever, but there is this sort of percolating mystery as to is there someone who's going to kill him?
Right.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Is it maybe playing off the fear of John Lennon? I don't know when that would line up with the timeline. It seems like that's what they were sort of hinting at, and then we rewind the tape. 30 years, and we see sort of teenage Elvis, or actually we see little kid Elvis.
Right. Dewey Cox. Yeah.
Wait. Well, oh.
I didn't realize how much the Dewey Cox movie had taken from this, the twin brother and everything, and everything. Yeah. They really took a lot of that. I was shocked, but yeah, it was young Elvis and his twin brother had already died by this time, so he's the only child now.
Yeah, and that was a really interesting thing where they really made that sort of the defining, aspect of his life or whatever, was that, he had this like dead brother sort of, haunting him the whole time. And, and later on, especially when he's, having, marital problems and, depressed about his mom dying and everything, he starts talking to his twin brother.
His shadow.
Yeah, exactly. It's brought to life by him talking to his shadow on the wall, which was a really cool way to, express that.
Yeah.
You kind of felt like you wanted a little more coverage, but, it's a TV movie, and they were probably pressed for time.
One shot a day.
Yeah.
Get the master.
Yep, that's all we got. And exactly. Hope we nail it in one, because we got 32 scenes to shoot today.
Put up that 650. Let's get a shadow on the wall and start rolling.
Yeah. But also, I was kind of blown away by Shelley Winters in this.
Yeah.
I thought she was really, really good, and it was one of those things where I feel like without her in the movie, I started to like sort of lose interest toward the end there.
I agree.
And it was we're supposed to be feeling her, the emptiness of her not being there, and I think that's there. But I think also the movie becomes a little rudderless at that point. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah.
It starts to like not have as much of a focus, and like. There's some weird situation where Pat Engel, I guess speaking of the 80s Batman.
This is Commissioner Gordon. I want him taken alive.
There was some other character in here, that Priscilla Presley's dad, who in the army or whatever, Elvis, was running in the same circles. It's weird because, every so often there's these like hints dropped that this guy, kind of has a very strong grip over the fate of Elvis.
Interesting.
Because he's always like, well, I didn't plan the wedding. That was the colonel and whatever. I couldn't invite my best friend. That's weird. And then
couldn't bring Red.
Yeah.
Red West. But is that because he started dating her at such a young age? I mean, she was very young when they started dating.
I think they glossed over that detail too, but apparently in real life, she's
like 14.
14.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
Is it hot in here, or is it just Elvis?
So maybe that was kind of his way of saying, sir, Colonel, whatever you say, sir, as long as I can marry your daughter. I don't know.
Well, I kind of read it as, he didn't have that, for some reason he didn't consider his father in this light, but he didn't have that sort of like adult or person that's older than him to worship like he did his mother, so he kind of, was having that persona come from Priscilla's dad. But perhaps I'm bringing a lot of that to this because it wasn't very explicit in it. It seemed like something they should have mined a little more, especially since they were, strongly hinting at it in that respect. And I think if they had actually done that, some of that rudderlessness would have kind of, been tightened up a little bit, because it would have made more sense. Like, this guy is, either psychologically or however controlling Elvis, and sort of creating all these little conflicts, not only with maybe some of his musical decisions that he feels like he's losing control over, or like his friendships and whatever. Why'd you fire all your friends? I don't know. Go get them back. All that stuff.
Well, I just want Priscilla to come spend Christmas with us, Captain.
I know she'd be okay, Elvis, but she's just a child.
Captain, I know you don't want your daughter wandering off with some sex symbol, but I'd respect her in every way you wanted to respect it. And I want to marry her someday, Captain.
I'll think about it. Give me a little time. I really will think about it.
What I started to say earlier, I just want to close the loop on, which is interesting, is that, like, structurally speaking, the movie starts off, and he's on this comeback tour in Las Vegas, and it's like, he shoots the TV, and he's upset about all these things, and it seems as if, and everyone gets nervous when he shoots the TV because, oh no, is there a killer?
That
up
was
there?
gunfire. Yeah.
And it's like, he calls his daughter before going on stage. He's like, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go on stage. This might be the last moments of my life. Better call my daughter real quick. Hey, sorry to wake you up, but just want to tell you I love you, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go out on stage and possibly die. And then, it seemed as if they were building toward the assassination of Elvis here.
Right.
It's like, obviously...
A little rewritten history there, perhaps?
Yeah, it didn't happen, but, I thought, okay, maybe they're going there. I don't know. And, but it just was like, no, we'll give one last quick concert and a montage and roll the credits.
I was reading something about this film that Carpenter, obviously, a fan of Elvis, growing up around that time. And it's also one of these decisions that he wanted to do. He wanted to make something dramatic. And this one being close to his heart and someone that he, really enjoyed in life, it made sense to him to kind of take this one on because he actually cared about it. But, of course, he wished he would have had more say in, how it was edited, how it was finally, put together, because there was a lot in that movie that, it's either he wanted to either add or take out or tighten up. But, I guess that's just how this is. You were a director, you were hired to be the director, especially so young in his career. Mm-hmm. Then once you're done with that job, move on to the next one,
Director for hire. I mean,
yeah.
That is one of those things where, and especially on television or other places, in the 1970s, people like John Carpenter were, kind of spoiled in the sense that they were able to exert a lot of control over their films. And then, you get into this world of there's a lot more, suits and producers and execs and, MBAs who are going to make these decisions for you, these creative decisions.
Non-creative people.
And then you get these things taken away from you. Exactly. And it sounds like whatever you were reading there about this one. I unfortunately I didn't see much about the behind the scenes on this one, but it sounds like that was kind of an experience he was getting with this one, and unfortunately that's one of those things that, particularly during his studio days, and particularly when he was a director for hire, that he had to deal with a lot more. Later in his career. I
wanted to bring up Kurt Russell in this. I thought he did a great job. I thought he looked great. The hair and everything matched, especially when he went to the jet black by, mid part one.
Yeah. Well, and also his eye makeup or whatever it was that kind of
like
made
liner.
him look like Elvis. Yeah, his eyeliner.
He always had an eyeliner on. Yeah, but he always had that snarl. He had that really good Elvis look. The way he moved, the way he dressed.
You know what's funny? I definitely did get lost in that character, and I kind of forgot that it was Kurt Russell at times.
I that's exactly it. Yeah, and it seems like everyone was because they brought him back. He was an Elvis impersonator in the movie 3,000 Miles to Graceland, and he was the voice of Elvis in Forrest Gump. I had no idea.
Which is the thing I was trying to remember earlier, and I was like, I wanted to bring that up, and I forgot about it. But yes, thank you for reminding me. That exactly a lot of this movie, especially the beginning of this movie. And all the mama stuff, man, did that feel like there's a lot of influence there on Forrest Gump, or just some of that taste and the feel, and if you're saying hey, this is the movie we're kind of trying to make, this is the tone we're going for, that's what the beginning, maybe the first hour or so of this movie felt like. It felt like what Forrest Gump became.
Yeah, I agree.
Forrest? I told you not to bother this nice young man.
Oh, no, that's all right, man. I was just showing him a thing or two on the guitar here.
So apparently Bing Russell, Kurt Russell's dad.
Baseball player, right?
Yeah, exactly. He had kind of an eclectic career, and, he had done a couple of things in movies, including apparently playing a dead body in Rio Bravo, one of John Carpenter's favorite movies.
Great segue here.
And I kind of wonder if that's part of the reason that they were brought on board here. He wanted to have a guy on set to tell him Rio Bravo stories.
I wanted vanilla twist.
I was texting you about this before. I know that this definitely is a siege film similar to Rio Bravo. However, I felt very Night of the Living Dead while watching this. And I know that was another inspiration, but this really felt like Night to me.
Okay, so I had seen Rio Bravo a long, long time ago on TV, and I didn't remember much of it. And I watched it again kind of recently in the interim here. And, okay, like loosely based on it. And, so I don't know how long it's been since you've seen Rio Bravo, but essentially like John Wayne and Dean Martin, they have this prisoner and they're all like worried about, getting the assault on Prison Bravo there. But the assault never really comes. And I kept thinking like, okay, where's the ripoff part start? Unlike fellow USC alum George Lucas, when John Carpenter says inspired, he just means inspired,
like
not
carbon
just like
copy.
total, scene for scene ripoffs, shot for shot ripoffs. Because there are sort of some thematic and certain things that that are similar in Rio Bravo, and then there are certain things like the name of John Wayne's character in Rio Bravo is John T. Chance, and that was the name that John Carpenter gave himself as the editor credit on this movie.
Is that right?
Yeah. Certain things like that, but like I kept expecting there to be this sort of like the sheriff and the outlaw team up or whatever, like they do in Assault, but
Nothing never happens in Rio Bravo.
Anyway, it's very sort of loosely, inspired by. I mean, when you say inspired, this is what you probably mean. It's like kind of had this in the back of my mind type of thing, like not like taking whole shots out of the Dam Busters or whatever.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that. Let's do something similar, not the same. Not having the movie on while you're on set and just matching it perfectly.
I would definitely say that about Rio Bravo. Now, Night of the Living Dead, well, that one definitely felt like it was almost the same. It's like,
yeah,
even to the point where like we keep adding to the group because people keep just stopping past this abandoned police station,
almost abandoned.
An abandoned abandoned farmhouse. And,
Weird.
all of the, gang members who were out for blood or whatever, well, they acted a little more like zombies with shotguns. It's like...
Yeah, and a little bit of voodoo in there, too, or some sort of supernatural satanic rituals, because they laid out that...
bloodletting thing, or
the bloodletting, and
what
yeah,
did he call it?
exactly.
He called it El Cholo or something?
Cholo? No one said anything about the Cholo. All right. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means to the death.
This movie, from the get-go, hits you over the head with amazing visuals. Douglas Knapp. I think we talked about him when we were talking about
Dark Star.
Dark Star. Yeah. But it really kind of sets off in this odd cold opener where there's like this alleyway, and then there's all these gunshots going off, and these people are getting killed, and that kind of sets off, I think, why the gangs are going crazy and trying to kill everybody. Mm-hmm. Was that kind of the...
Yeah, so the idea was that, like, there were, whatever, there were like six, people in this gang, and they were sort of running through an alleyway or something like that, and then from up above...
A little nondescript.
In a turkey shoot fashion, like a dozen cops just, like, blew these guys away. And then I love on the radio, on the news later, it said, like, in a shootout with police. I was like, shootout? These guys were just executed.
Exactly, yeah.
And in the local news, 6 youth gang members were killed in a shootout last night with police in South Los Angeles.
But here we go. We've got Lieutenant Ethan Bishop, who, all the hints that I get, it's like his first day on the job, and he's sent off to this precinct that's closing just to, like, basically see it to be closed overnight.
Was it his first day on the job, or like, did he starts as a lieutenant? I mean,
I know exactly. That's what I was going to bring up, because he's a lieutenant.
Or is it like his first day as a lieutenant? Or I don't know.
Maybe that's right. Yeah, because he knew
but
that.
I know what you mean. Like the guy on the radio was like, "It's your first way to start your first day," or something like that. Yeah.
Where are you going to go? Precinct 13. Isn't that closed? Not yet.
Yeah.
And then you've got Darwin Jostin, who's Napoleon Wilson, who is fucking hilarious as the anti-hero villain type. He was awesome in this, asking everyone for a smoke. And again, I think that this is Carpenter doing what he does best with character and these payoffs with characters, and they always maintain who they are as characters throughout the film, and then see some arcs and things, but they do maintain who they are. And I think that's why these characters are so strong in this movie.
When you're in my position, days are like women. Each one is so goddamn precious. You always end up leaving you.
Kind of like what we were talking about with Someone's Watching Me. I mean, he gets a lot out of these characters and gets you to be invested in them. Well, he takes you on this thrill ride. And it's like,
right.
That's the whole magic trick, is like getting you just enough invested so that you're not tuning out, or you don't, so that you do care what the people are up to. But not enough to sort of make you feel like this is a drama or something like that, right? It's we're here to have a good time.
1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4, 5 day, 6 day, 7 day, more, 8 day, 9 day, 10 day, 11. Gets my ass and go to heaven. Y-O-U spells you. I told you I'd lose. God damn it, we're gonna do it again.
I feel like Nancy Loomis is really good, and she comes back in Halloween. Charles Cyphers again. He's in all three of these movies today, and he was great. Austin Stoker was great.
Kyle Richards' sister, Kim Richards, who gets blown away.
I wanted a vanilla
who then her sister shows up in Halloween. I forgot how graphic that was.
Yeah.
That's a huge blood splatter on her, and it's vicious.
It was wild.
I had to show Chrissy that one because she's a big Housewives fan. She thought that was hilarious. When Kim Richards get blown away.
Was that the only part she watched, though?
Yes,
oh, okay.
Of this one, yeah.
Yeah, and then her dad, who was James Woods Light, that guy. and then I'd kind of forgotten about like how he got into the police station too.
Yeah, so did I.
But then
and he kind of drew them all to the police station.
Exactly.
I forgot that he was kind of the reason that they were attacking.
Right. He was the Judas steer or whatever, just kind of like moving everybody in that direction.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like banter wise and whatever else. Like there were only a handful of people who were able to sort of pull off that banter, in my opinion. I really felt like some of the actors were a little stiff, including the sort of like the woman who was clearly told to act like Lauren Bacall,
Is that the one that got shot and
didn't
move?
flinch? Yeah.
Yeah. She took that like a champion. Right in the arm.
She took that like she didn't know what was happening.
She took that like she didn't realize the squib went off.
Yeah, exactly. She took that like we used a different piece of the take when she wasn't supposed to be reacting. Yeah, maybe her reaction was too big, and instead they just went with the reaction of nothing.
But she was the love interest, and she's the one that had the connection with Napoleon.
Yeah, or was it Bishop that she had a connection with? I mean, it was definitely one of those things where I guess that part was a little similar in Rio Bravo. I just that there was sort of like this, more of a friendship triangle in Assault, where all three of them kind of got along with one another. It wasn't so much a love interest exactly. I mean, it seemed to be hinting at that, but it didn't really go that way. But
no, yeah.
Anyway, I felt like those guys were good. The actor, I don't remember his name, but like he was the other inmate from the bus who was doing the potatoes and
Tony Burton.
Okay, yeah.
He was in Rocky.
Yeah, he was in Rocky. Right, exactly. He was great. But there's just a handful of guys. I mean, including for me Napoleon. Like he's got a lot of great lines, but his delivery was a little stiff. It's like.
And every time I watch this movie, I get more and more okay with it. Like for some reason. There's something about it. I almost feel like he's like the comic relief of the movie, and it's like you need his like stiff delivery with these funny lines. Like if someone else delivered him, it'd be hilarious. But now that he's doing it, it's still hilarious just because he can't really ride on the line,
Right. It's funny, but the thing is, like, he looks a little too much like Chris Cooper for me, so I kept waiting for his like acting to get to that level, and it never did.
Chris Cooper's a good actor, yeah.
Yeah.
Still have the gun?
2 shots. Do I save it for the 2 of us?
You save them for the first 2 assholes who come through that vent.
And then also the guy from Escape from New York, who was kind of like the Klaus Kinski light guy, the guy who shot Kim Richards.
God, that guy is creepy looking, man.
He is so creepy.
Yeah.
They touch me, he dies.
you're not in the air in 30 seconds, he dies. If you come back in, he dies.
It's interesting, though. It's like, that guy, it seemed as if they were going to set him up to be sort of the final boss.
No, yeah, he goes out pretty early.
And yeah, exactly. It just, we're done.
And another one that kind of just died and took a bunch of bullets but didn't make much of a reaction, just kind of fell down. There wasn't much of a, ow, this hurts. It was more just,
yeah.
And he kind of laid down.
Yeah, which also gave it that kind of zombie feel.
Yes,
it's like,
exactly.
You're killing all these people and it's just zombies. And because there's no main character within the assault crew, it gave it that sort of, anonymous zombie feel.
Yeah.
I wanted vanilla twist.
As we're like coming down that hallway at the end, when they've got that sign up and everything,
yeah,
that part definitely, really, really felt like zombies. I mean, like, especially when they've gotten rid of the guns and all the strategy that these guys
right.
Had been working with before, and it's just a matter of like overwhelming numbers. It really kind of felt like, this will be our last stand down here in the basement, and
yeah. Didn't the jail cells themselves feel like the basement in Night of the Living Dead, and that was the other area? You had the living room and the upstairs in Night, but then you also had the basement, which was a totally different space that was actually like a trap or a prison down there. And then this one, it like literally was, a jail.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Although I guess they subverted the Night ending by having the cops only blow away the bad guys.
Yeah, the Night ending's a little bit more depressing.
Good shot.
One more overt nod to Rio Bravo was when the cops were driving around. They're like, "There's nobody here.
Yeah.
Tell them to count their kids again." like.
What street is that? Gramercy. I'm not going down there. Maybe something's going on down there, dude.
The one street we didn't check. Well, I don't think anything's
something tells me something's happening on Gramercy.
Yeah. The cops like stop there and like they're on the radio and they're like I don't see anything, and then like the blood starts dripping on the windshield. And that was directly out of Rio Bravo, because at one point, they get into this bar and they Dean Martin shot a guy and they were chasing him in there and like no one sees anything and they can't get anything out of anybody. But then, blood starts dripping into this glass of beer on the bar and like Dean Martin knows the guy's up there and takes him out. But again, that's more like
a nod,
like a nod, exactly, than a total ripoff of everything. Although I'll tell you what was a total ripoff. Was The Fugitive ripping off the sort of inciting incident for how the bus gets stopped in this one.
Oh, the
like
illness, right?
Yeah, it's almost the exact
right.
same thing. Yeah,
if this is contagious, everyone's gonna catch this. Yeah, we're gonna need to put him in the holding tanks.
Yeah,
I love ciphers.
Only they didn't have the guy from Office Space.
I'm a people person, damn it.
It was a jump to conclusions, Matt.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, Tom.
This movie, for as stiff as some of those performances are sometimes, and for as much as you kind of wanted a little more out of the characters or whatever, what I think really elevates it and what kind of sets it apart from even Someone's Watching Me, which was a great thriller, was the music.
I knew it.
And it's just like, you cannot deny like how amazing that is and how much it elevates and like brings gravitas to the show. I mean, the opening credit sequence and like that song that's playing, even the song Julie's theme, it's like when Nancy Loomis gets shot, and the sort of like the sad song that's in there.
Yeah.
Like that one too, it's just amazing.
Very synthy. It almost sounded like an 80s sitcom a little bit, when it's like those little keys, but it worked perfect for this.
Right, exactly. Just one last little note. I remember on Somebody's Watching Me, so Lauren Hutton gets out of the shower at one point, and there's just like tons of steam or whatever, and like on the mirror it shows that someone's been watching her. But, you know, when I was seeing that, I was like, oh my God, I hope they weren't using the same thing they were using in Dark Star, the kerosene vapor or whatever it was.
How are the Dodgers doing?
This was fun to rewatch Assault. I also hadn't seen it for probably a couple of years. Again, one of those that I've seen, at least half a dozen times. Elvis, it was great to touch on this, especially Kurt Russell's performance. And Someone's Watching Me, pleasantly surprised beyond anything. I was captivated the whole time,
same.
And it was great.
Totally. And I was surprised with Someone's Watching Me. I was pleasantly surprised how much I liked it. Elvis, I think, is probably my last viewing of that one. I mean, it's not like I really disliked it, but I don't know if there's much to revisit.
No.
Although the Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro pairing of Kurt Russell and John Carpenter started here.
Right.
So it's definitely earns a place in cinema history for that alone. But yeah, in Assault, you can kind of just see how it's become the sort of cult classic that it is, and I feel like you'd feel like these fingerprints on a lot of stuff, and you could feel like how it influenced Tarantino, for instance, like just the way he captures L.A. in the beginning, like when it's still daylight out, especially when the car's driving. There's that car mounted shot that looks almost exactly like the shot where they're talking about Royale with cheese in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Just the sort of quality of light there is that sort of texture of the city that you get in that sort of early Tarantino, where he was really sort of grounding all of what was happening in a reality, and you really felt that in the beginning of this one.
1W90, this is Lieutenant Bishop in unmarked vehicle requesting assignment. The staff 7 there.
All right, so we just talked about Assault on Precinct 13, Elvis, and Someone's Watching Me, early pre-Halloween John Carpenter films. Next time, we are back to the horror films. Obviously, that makes me very happy. With Dawn of the Slasher. We're going to be talking about 3 films: Black Christmas, Halloween, hell yeah, and Friday the 13th. This is going to be a really fun one to watch and talk about.
Yeah, I think so. And, I think the movie that's going to be kind of hanging over all of them is going to be Psycho. But I think with these 3 films in particular, we get to the point where it sort of sets up and establishes the template for the genre that everyone would use going forward.
And I like that we're putting Black Christmas in there, because Halloween usually does take the crown as the originator of the slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Christmas did precede that, and it very much is a slasher movie by definition.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of those things where you can probably argue, like, which one is the most iconic slasher villain? Is it Jason? Is it Michael Myers? But both of them in a way are sort of born out of this, out of Black Christmas, and Psycho. But and we'll get into some more of that next time.
Perfect. All right, thanks so much for listening. Please make sure to subscribe and follow us on all the podcasts and social platforms at the Grindhouse Institute. And if you really want to give us a boost, check us out on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps us to get noticed. Thanks so much, everybody. We will be back next week.
Ciao.
Nobody gonna wish me luck?
Good luck.
Look at that. 2 cops wishing me luck. I'm doomed.